Good morning, everybody. We had the editors focus group yesterday, and I request all the members, if they have any queries and questions to be asked to the editors, this is their chance, this is their opportunity, as we are waiting for our HOD. Yes, sir? Oh, you have a question, sir. Sure. Yes, so we'll be beginning with the third focus group, which is on the dancers after the question and answer session, and of course our HOD comes by then. And then in the afternoon we are having the reader session. So the first question is being asked by Dr. Kothari.
Lal. General, this is one thing about, hello? Yeah. Like I have to tell you about my own experience about writing articles now. Earlier there used to be syndicate writings. Suppose Shobhade wrote an article, syndicate. Her articles will appear in number. Khushwant, for instance. They will appear in many. Some of these articles, problems are this for writing on dance. The age that I have reached, I can't devote so much time to writing all the time about so many events. Sometimes Leelaji, myself, Anjali Kafi, we attend one of conferences together. Then either one of writes for nartaki.com or some writes for Shruti or somebody writes for Nartanam. There could be variations also, but there is by and large will be general opinion about how the conference. For instance, today, among us, 7 of us who are here, maybe one person can write a detailed article on dance criticism of particular session for nartaki.com. I may write also for other papers, etc. Many a times it becomes very difficult for us to write articles for many papers. And at that time, you can't claim, as yesterday, not that you claim, but just it came to my mind that if you write only for nartaki.com or exclusivity, days are gone of exclusivity. A, there are two distinct readerships. KK, please listen. The readership is different. Those who go on www.nartaki.com, those are enthusiastic to know what is happening in the dance world. They go to www.nartaki.com because they not only read my article, they see what is all happening. There are a number of articles coming there. There are reviews, announcements, programs. It's an amazing thing what Lalita and team people they're doing. But many times people as dancers often ask me, which I said yesterday in my review, that they ask me, Sunil bhai, please send us the link. She's very kind. Always she sent me the link. And sometimes I send to a number of people. I don't send only to the dancer. I thought maybe Leelaji is busy, let Manjari also read it. So we mutually send the article. But the exclusivity part is gone. Tomorrow we can't say today, okay, it's exclusively written only for nartaki.com. That is the point I want to make. Similarly, same for Nartanam, same for attendance, same for other Shruti. Sometimes the editors, when you send the article, they very intelligently, keeping the main content same, abbreviate it and publish as very good. Sometimes as the courtesy would demand, you should announce that courtesy so and so, if you reproduce the verbatim. There is nothing wrong or belittling that if you republish what I write for www.nartaki.com into Nartanam or in attendance where you say courtesy so and so, because the content, the readership of both are very different. We cannot claim today that I write for Hindu. Many times even people say, Arey, aapne Leelaji ka bhej diya, acha hua, because I couldn't read on the Friday review. I often say it's a habit to us. It is Friday we want to read Leela Venkatraman, but if you don't get the paper, then it must get either a link. They taught me how to do a link also. Lalita taught me, just switch it off there. Lalita taught me how you can get a link. I learned how to send. Thank you Vijay. So if you get the link, share it with many people. Today it has become so, press is more, too much is coming. Directions, information comes in all directions, it comes to us. We have to make it select. So, but some things are interesting for the world of dance that if you have in your group mail, I have my group mail of WDA, World Dance Alliance, and they always say, thanks Sunil for sending us because we don't know what else is happening. But if you are a member of an international body like World Dance Alliance, there are people who are interested in dance. There are people interested in what is happening in India. For instance, yesterday only I sent some of the email at night to World Dance Alliance, to Gonzalez, to Anis Nor, Mohammed, to Urmila, this Sunil Bhai. Such an important conference takes place. We are absolutely thrilled because they also say that when does dance criticism in main discourse come? And so many people are getting together. And thanks our Sucheta, because Sucheta told me that we have at least an MA, one course in dance criticism. Urmimala and I have been struggling in JNU that in dance faculty, what we teach there, we must have one course on dance criticism. Still, we have been not able to successfully go through the academic council and all these are problems, but moral it will come. If this is the case, my submission to all these publishers and the editors, writers is that if we send you something, accept it. Don't say, exclusively write for us. Those days are gone now. Those syndicate things are gone. Khushwanti is also gone. Shubha is still there. Shubhadi. But still, Khushwanti is gone. So syndicate is not possible. And we can't send to many people, etc. Thank you, Leela. Lal.
Yeah. Can they hear? Hello. No, what I wanted to say by exclusively is not to say that you have to write only for Nartaki that particular article. People have the habit of sending the same article to 2-3 others, and when we feature it first and the others feature it after that, others come and say, Nartaki stole it from this publication and that publication. So let it appear first in Nartaki as you have sent it. Let it appear elsewhere, but just say, the article first appeared in nartaki.com. So for this I have to ask the writers, have you written only for us or have you written to other people, because many people are in the habit of sending to multiple media. So that is the word I meant, have you written exclusively for Nartaki right now? Or have you given to other people? I didn't say you should not send to other publications at all. So feature articles from other websites or from other media with the permission, and the first line will always say reproduced with permission from so and so, or this article appeared in such and such a issue, such and such a publication. So that is exclusivity point that I was trying to make. And there is one writer who maintains a blog. She writes regularly for us. And whenever one particular artist posts her review on Facebook, it's from her blog, but the review is in Nartaki. And every time, after some time I asked her, what is this? You're having your own blog and you're sending for Nartaki also. You keep your blog, but just say it appeared in nartaki.com. Otherwise, it looks like I took it from her blog and featured it on Nartaki. So that is the only point, and those people agree also. And
यहाँ हम एक बात साफ करना चाहेंगे ललिता कि जब एक ही आर्टिकल शब्दशः तुम्हारे पास भी भेजा जा रहा है वर्ड बाय वर्ड एंड एल्सवेयर आल्सो, तब ये बात लागू होनी चाहिए. हम हिंदी में भी लिखते हैं और अंग्रेज़ी में भी, स्टेट्समैन के लिए भी, जनसत्ता के लिए भी, संगीत नाटक अकेडमी का हिंदी जर्नल निकलता है, संगना उसके लिए, नर्तकी के लिए, नर्तनम के लिए, बहुत लोगों के लिए. तो अब हम यहाँ आए हैं तो बड़ा विविधता भरा ये सेमिनार है. अलग अलग एस्पेक्ट्स हैं जिनके बारे में लिखा जा सकता है. तो एक का पक्ष यहाँ लिखा, दूसरे जैसे हम एक पावा कथा कर एक बहुत बड़ी हफ्ते भर आदि पंडनार जहाँ पे रहा करते थे ना, जो ओरिजिनल आंध्र प्रदेश से आए हुए कठपुतली वाले, तो उनकी देखा देखी उन लोगों ने पावा कथकली बनाया, कठपुतल, और उससे कथकली की परंपरा हुई. तो ये हमको वेणु जी केरल के अंदरूनी गाँव में जगह जगह लेके गए थे. उसके बारे में हमने तुम्हारे लिए लिखा, स्टेट्समैन के लिए लिखा, नर्तकी के लिए लिखा, संगना के लिए लिखा और जनसत्ता के लिए लिखा. लेकिन कहीं भी एक जैसा नहीं था, हर जगह अलग अलग था. तो ये बात साफ कर दो कि वही आर्टिकल शब्दशः हर जगह ना भेजा जाए. अदरवाइज हम ये स्वतंत्र हैं कि उसके अलग पक्षों पे अलग अलग जगह लिखें, है ना. धन्यवाद.
See, that's what. Only when people reproduce identical articles, we have that problem. You can write about different aspects of the same thing to different publications, there is no problem at all. So we only insist on this identical reproduction, where the credit has to be given. All require is credit. Either that is we give the credit or they give the credit that it appeared in Nartaki. But I can write for Nartaki, I can write for Nartanam on only the critics aspect. It's totally different. So there is no question of any problem in that. It's only in reproduction of identical articles. Yeah. Yes, it's only the identical. Right now also there is one article that came in Nartaki, the same thing came in Hindu. I had to ask the writer, how is it the same thing has come in Hindu, a slightly abridged version. And she said, I sent it to you and Hindu. Hindu never replied. But after we featured, she didn't tell the Hindu that it has already appeared. And after that, she called me to say, oh, they didn't reply, so I thought they are not featuring it. So it's just one of those things. It's clarification between writer and the website. And when people ask, how come the same thing appeared, I just have to say this writer has given it to that website also, and it's appeared in this also. There's nothing we can do about it or fight with the writer for that. It's just they can change it a little bit when you give to the other media. That's all they should do. Just give it a slightly different tilt to that, not verbatim the same thing. So that if the writers, most writers don't do that. It's only some fledgling writers who do this. So we have to tell them, ask them, did you write for another website? Have you sent it only to Nartaki? Have you sent it to this? After 4 questions only we feature it.
Also sometimes the paper probably is giving you some 400 rupees or something for the 1000 word article, and not even that much sometimes. I have gotten checks of 80 rupees and 150 rupees also. So
I have a question to Lalita. When you're running columns like Roses and Thorns, etc., which deals with several issues. So, acha, it's not there?
of course, no, it's there.
Gaya nahi gaya hai. Nahi jayega wo. So, in that context, how do you define political correctness in terms of language and etiquette? What is your criteria?
As long as it's not obscene or direct attack or we feel that something is not justified, you just state the problem because it's to you. Then we will feature it. The language has to have decorum. Because we have got so many roses and thorns where it's washing dirty linen in public. And we refuse. This roses and thorns is not meant for that. I called up this artist to perform and he said this and he said that. So I told him this, that. We have got so many mails like that. We don't feature those things. It has to be a valid issue. It has to just give the points, nothing personal. There will be no personal remarks.
Parimal, in those days when I used to write for the Times of India, editor Shamlal, who used to tell that the editor, one who does the sub-editing, has the right to use the blue pencil. And undecorum language was never allowed in the Times of India. It was a rule. Then somebody, those papers who want to have controversies, they are indulging in controversy, they will do so. But however, a very conscientious critic would not allow anything unpleasant to be written about. That was the rule. And it should be the rule. That why do you make anything so undecorum? When you are talking of something which is art, we should ennoble it. That is the point. One thing more I wanted to say, even if the article is published later on or whenever, or whatever date is there must be some mentioning that this was published or we have taken it from somewhere, courtesy. I often see a number of articles being published again and again, never given credit. Whereas people like us who are watchdogs, not bloodhounds, will find out where it appeared. I write to them also, why do you do this thing, X or Y? And they have to know that people do watch this thing. And there is certainly what they call ethics. And that is a press ethics, which also editors have to remember. Every editor has to remember, or the writer also remember. When you send, and if the editor is not right to the editor, I noticed that the article you have not mentioned, it was published somewhere else earlier. That is the policy which all magazines, even Attendance or something paper which is in London published by Arnold Haskell, I found out when I was in Wisconsin University somewhere, I was reading old journal of music. And somewhere I began to read the reader's right. Somebody had drawn attention about articles published 30 years ago and republished. But that person brought to the notice. So see how meticulous people are. People are very meticulous about what they read. Also it becomes a source material. When you do a bibliography, in the bibliography, it gives historical account also. Okay, this was published later. So double crossing hota hai. I think ultimately when you do your doctorate, MPhil, etc., particularly all of you are doing your MPhil, PhD, you are in the university, this is most element to remember. That any time anybody is going to do research work, you go through the bibliography. I remember once I had a big argument with Dr. Kapila Vatsyayan. Dr. Vatsyayan wrote about something and then never mentioned the years, etc. So following Kapila Vatsyayan, Kapilaji, I went to Kapilaji. So she said, thank you for bringing my attention. She wrote immediately letter to Sangeet Natak Academy, to Motilal Banarsi Das. These are the dates Sunil Kurar has given to me. Kindly see that in the next edition they are published. They were published. Now I think that stands for A, your own integrity, B, correctness of the history, 3, cross-reference, etc. And this should be instilled from the very beginning. I am very happy that in those years when in 75 I did my PhD in MSN Baroda, I had a great professor by name Suresh Joshi who would say, be very careful about wherever you draw resources because they will be helpful to others also who will read your notes. We write in the end, books and these references, etc. It's very important to put the date, etc. They gave a course actually into, for instance, I did not know earlier IBID. It's the same thing. I didn't know where this term was coming from. I learned it from there. So there are given special courses to you how to write, how to write the notes. For instance, you have to put figure 1. Suppose you start your article and you give one reference. I didn't know how to put one up. There is a way of putting it one up. So I have to put it in bracket. I put a bracket and write 1. At the end it will come, etc. Somebody taught me later on how to go, etc. But these are very important. This is not a discussion amongst us. It's meant for the students. Yesterday I was telling Parimal that it is so important that all of us would come and we'll talk to the students. Not for us. It is meant for all this, and therefore it was good that they were asking questions to us.
Definitely.
Parimal, thanks.
Thank you, sir.
On political correctness,
Yes.
what you were saying, roses and thorns. Couple of years ago, I written an article called "The Margam is Dead, Long Live the Margam."
Yes.
And it was about the format of the Margam, questioning the relevance of it today at a time when Barneys don't exist and guru hopping and whatever else. Suddenly I got a long email from Priyadarshini Govind saying, I run an international journal called Margam and it is not dead. And she took that on heads on as if it's a big issue to cry about. I had no clue that there was an international journal called Margam which she ran. Nobody knew it. And it just became a bigger issue for no apparent reason. So we need roses and thorns. It's a lovely column. We'll water it regularly.
Yes.
Roses and thorns is very much needed for people. But like I said, they call me on the phone and talk to me for 1 hour and tell me the problem. I'll tell them, please write. And they will say, but you know this, why don't you write? Somebody from UK sent an email about 1 month back saying, this particular organization is giving lot of problem, why don't you write about it? Why should I write about what problem he is having? He should only write about it. And the people who are ready to write about it want to wash dirty linen in public. They threaten the dancers, if you do this, I will write some thorns. And then this one calls me and says, Lalita ji, I am so afraid. This one so and so said she will write in roses and thorns. I said, just because she says she is going to write, we are not going to feature it. So you please don't worry, depending on the nature, no names should be mentioned, no direct attack. I will say, please write it as a common problem faced by organizer or dancer or organization. You write like that so people are aware that such problems exist. But you cannot pinpoint. Because once you pinpoint, then you have to answer. We will not answer. I mean, if any problem happens, somebody is going to sue you and all that stuff.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that is one thing we are very clear about.
Thank you, Lalita. Thank you so much. We move. Yes, KKG has.
I will just add, contributing about the same topic. In 92 or 91, when Kalamandala Ramakuttina got the Kalidas Puraskar, immediately, Etnanbid winner that month, that editor of the Madhurabhumi Weekly, Malayalam prominent journal, asked me to give a cover within 2 days. And for 5 minutes, we decided the caption, Kaliyarangile Kala Pramana, because he is known for his tempo keeping in all the emotions. And before my article goes, the newspaper announced next week this is the cover story. So I was much under tension. Next day it came. The very next day, the editor of Deccan Herald, when Raguraman from Bangalore got an article on Ramakuttinayar. Okay, it is in English, I agreed. I got a mail from Ranjini Rajagopal, who is no more, with the Indian Express Sunday in charge. From KK, I want an article on Ramakuttinayar for our next issue. Okay, I had to agree. Then I got a call from Week, the Malayalam the journal Week, the editor. I refused because I told I am already committed to 3 articles. It is very difficult for me. Then one of my friends, who is an editor of Malayalam Manorama, who owned the magazine, he rang me, no, you must do it. So I agreed for a 500 word. Finally, what I did, I profiled the beautifully in Madhurabhumi Weekly, which is even referred by many PhD students. In one issue, I focused on his character like Naragasura, more detail. In another, I went on his elaboration on Duryodhana or Ravana, something like that. And the tragedy was, the article which I wrote for the Indian Express became a mess. I still keep it to as an example for how worstly you can profile an article when you are in a pressure. And that taught me a lot of lessons. Though nothing is repeated, I made the trick. We profiling one particular element, his personality, how he keeps the rhythms, like that. And others I mentioned in one paragraph, which I elaborated for other. But when the pressure comes, when the fourth one came for the Indian Express, practically I was collapsed. But still I nourish, that is a big, big experience that I learned for myself, how to write a very bad article under a big stress. And sometimes you produce the best article in a very short time. Many times we wrote the tributes when we are traveling in the train on the laptop. And I have some columns I wrote for the Hindu. So my best tributes, which I wrote in 2 hours time or 3 hours time, like that. Thank you so much.
I think we will carry on with the session, but just 2 points. We are mixing up a lot of issues of copy editing, content editing, and other techniques of putting a whole article or a journal or a newspaper page together. We couldn't take up this point yesterday, but as Lalita said, content is one part. Copy sometimes can be damaged by other editors who are part of the whole group. For example, I wrote about Swapna Sundari's recreation of Vilasini Natyam based on all the traditions which had gone before. Of course, it was year-end column, 30th December, Times of India does a year-end review, and to compress in 500 words, 200 shows you have seen in the whole year, and to filter that down to the one para, they thought it would be very catchy to call it Jurassic Park of dance. That was not a happy New Year beginning the next day for me or for many of us. Because somebody sitting thought on a New Year's Day everyone will be half drunk or dead from last night's party in Delhi anyway. And so Jurassic Park would take their attention to the top of the page. Now Vilasini Natyam, which was recreation in a form like many others, became Jurassic Park of dance. Of course, Swapna didn't talk to me for the next 5 years. I used to get Christmas cards, New Year's cards, happy birthday cards, but for the next 5 years, no cards came. And of course, she also did not. So this is also the perception of the artist. They think the caption also is sometimes given by the critic or the writer. Critics have no control over what captions will go as the head of that whole page or the feature. And often we are at naturally the receiving end because it's done anonymously. Somebody on night duty, especially newspapers, who has no clue. For him, Sachin Tendulkar and Sanjukta Panigiri sound same. So it would not be any difference for them if they were to put anything together, Century by Sanjukta, and she has been gone for 20 years. You know, so it is a pitfall when we talk of content and copy. Another good example of copy is, and why I stopped writing for Times of India after reviving it in Bangalore, was that they were very happy-looking, very healthy dancers on stage. And I said they were naturally, we were using polite words yesterday, but there is no politically correct word for fat or plump. Sorry to say, you can say pleasantly, very healthy, robust, whatever you want to say, but the editor decided to say Bonda Bharatanatyam. I mean, editor meaning the copy editor said Bonda Bharatanatyam. Of course, the person in context was very connected, was a very powerful woman of the state then, and she was very well-rounded and very healthy. So she took it personally saying, I've been called Bonda and Bharatanatyam. But that's not the case. Sometimes these captions are just taken to catch the eye, which newspaper, magazines and journals are 3 totally different mediums. And internet is far worse off. What we are speaking now can go tomorrow, I'll send her one, and then if I revisit it after a week, my thoughts would have evolved to something else. So one has to be very careful. I'll conclude with one point. Dance publishing and dance publication is a thankless task. How many people, there's no subscription to Nartaki, it's a free enterprise. Anita Ratnam puts her own monies or family's monies or whatever little advertising revenues it gets. Attendance, we have 15 years of publication just broken even because many people don't buy even subsidized copies of 500 rupees or 700 rupees. So who will publish dance books? In a country of 1 billion, after the death of Abhinav, Mr. Shakti Malik, to whom this issue is dedicated, there are really no dance publishers left, except Marg maybe once in a while. So there are no dance publishers left for books. So if you want to do your PhD book into a book form after it is accepted, if you want to write a book, who do you go to? Who will publish it? Once it is published, you are damned anyway. but who will market it and who will distribute it? So we need a whole next generation can focus on dance publication, because there are very few dance books coming out. In a year, maybe 5. On a good year, there are 5 books on dance. You as PhD students, MPhil students need reference books. Where do you get it? You still reference something written 50 years ago, and things have moved on so much in choreography, in dance, all the trends. We can't be referring to something in Rani Rahman's mother wrote in 1930s. That is a reference point for Kathakali, Mohiniyattam or Bharatanatyam then. But what is happening to Kathakali, Mohiniyattam or Kudiyattam today? So we need dance publication, and which is why my hair has not gone white out of wisdom. It's gone out of white out of trying to market and sell these books, because after you publish it, how do you sell them? There are no distributors. A shop takes 50% of the published price. A shop will only go for an attractive book which will cost 5,000, because from that they will get 500 rupees. If you sell a journal for 500 rupees, they will not be giving you space in that shop in airport or someplace for 50 rupees. Everything has become on premium. So the good old days of Sunilji mentioning 40 years ago, Shamlaji and others, those are truly over with the space crunch, as Mrs. Mahajan said yesterday, that now it has become a product.
They are not over. I want to take at this point with you. What is ethical is ethical. There is no question of something.
Yes, of course, what is ethical is, and who is speaking, ethical is ethical.
So,
sure.
50 years ago, what is ethical remains even today ethical.
True,
So
the
therefore,
only complexion
we
has
cannot
changed.
say that 50 years thing. On the contrary, those books are very...
Those are
that's
reference
source
points.
material.
I said those are reference points.
Also, don't think there is no more... There is Niyogi publications. I got 17 offers from them to write book. Lilaji's book is coming out.
Sure,
said about
but there are very
6
few.
But
very
there
few
are.
published.
There is no that my dear friend Shakti Malik died doesn't mean the end of the... On the contrary.
No, but there are only 2 publishers in India.
We'll also publish books on dance, etc. B, the question I will take up with you is this about pleasantly produced. I didn't elaborate, etc. Chandralekha told me, as a friend, don't comment on woman's body. A, period. Period. इसके बाद pleasantly plump भी नहीं चलेगा. Don't comment upon that. Comment on something, the issues. Comment on the issues that are important. Let us not forget this is a very serious discussion. We cannot laminate by making it humorous. Humor doesn't come here. Humor is in short supply. But I'm very serious about this thing, that if you respect women, don't comment with their body. It's not important to say she's rounded and pleasantly plump, she's fat. Why do you want to talk about that? First of all, A, you talk of dance. There's enough to talk on dance.
It's an interesting dilemma here when you are talking about the dance and you have to separate the dancer from the dance. When do you do that and when do you do that? I think these are the dilemmas of a writer, of an editor, and probably the critics are always on the edge of grappling which words to use, exactly treat on the proper path. And I guess all of you have gone through this. I'm pretty sure about it. I think Leela ji has something to contribute.
I think all of us have gone through it, you see, because it's very difficult to separate the dancer from the dance. And unfortunately, this being a visual medium where you use the body, how you keep the instrument of this body in terms of people
Visual
being able
appeal.
to see it visually is very, very important. And when the body becomes very difficult to look at, you know, as something which really pleases you, then how can the dance sit on it really well? This is a big question. But you know, I have seen dancers who go beyond the body. And I can tell you this, in the beginning I used to comment on the body, though very politely, saying maybe losing a little bit of weight would make the dance look better or something like that indirectly. But even that is talking about the body. And I also came to realize in course of time that there are people who cannot control their fat. There are various reasons. There may be health reasons. There may be thyroid problems. And so they start bloating and they can't do anything about it. But they are extraordinary dancers. Now, when I see these dancers who are able to transcend the body and become the dance, and then you look at the dance, you know, the first appear on the stage, you say, my God, this person is big as a ship, what is she going to do? But then after about 10, 15 minutes, you forget that, you know, you really begin to look at the dance. That means they really are extraordinarily great performers. And then I began to realize there was much in what Chandralekha said, that you cannot talk about a woman's body, you talk about the art form. But you know, this is a process of departure in the mind, which has to come in the critic also. You have to grow up to be able to separate the two, to look at the art for itself and not get dissuaded by other things. And in the same way, I think, when you are extremely beautiful and pretty, it's very difficult to get over that also and become a great dancer. Because people will say she looked very lovely on the stage, she looked like this on the stage, she was a goddess on the stage and so on. That also is a disadvantage, because people should not be focusing on that, they have to focus instead on the art form. So both things are very difficult. But I agree that when it comes to discussing the body of a dancer, I think it's a very, very delicate point. And I also think dancers should be more careful about looking after their body. It's like looking after your instrument, you know. If you're going to have an instrument which is not in sur, then you're going to produce besura music. So if you have a body which is so completely, unwieldy, then the dance also will be difficult to look at. It works both ways. But somewhere I think you have to find it. And I think both critics and dancers are facing this as a challenge and fighting it all the time.
I think Manjari ji has something to add.
नहीं, जो लीला ने कहा है वही बात मैं अपने हिंदी भाषी श्रोताओं और विद्यार्थियों के लिए कहना चाहती हूँ कि जैसे आप सितार बजा रहे हैं, तानपुरा बजा रहे हैं, तानपुरे के साथ गाते हैं तो समय लेके तानपुरा मिलाते हैं. वो सुर का जब वातावरण बनता है तब मन उपलब्ध होता है उस आनंद लेने के लिए. जब अपना वाद्य सुर में मिलाते हैं तो जो पहला सा लगता है, आनंद आता है. तो वही बात है कि आपका शरीर गात्र वीणा है, उसी तरह से माध्यम है नृत्य का, नृत्य की प्रस्तुति का. तो उसको एक वाद्य की तरह से सुर में रहना चाहिए. और दूसरी बात जो उसने कही है, आप में से बहुत सारे यहाँ कथक वाले हैं और हो सकता है कि आप जानते हों जिनकी बात हम लोग कह रहे हैं. जयपुर घराने की एक नर्तकी हैं नंदिनी सिंह. उनको ज़रूर कोई बीमारी होगी या कोई हेल्थ का रीज़न होगा, बेचारी बहुत मोटी हो गई. लेकिन जब वो अभिनय करती है, आय हाय हाय, क्या श्रृंगार, क्या नज़ाकत, क्या नमक है. वाह वाह वाह. आप देखिए तो झूम जाएंगे. तो या तो अपने नृत्य में वो बात पैदा करिए, भूल जाएं, शरीर को मारो गोली, यार कला देखो क्या कह रही है, क्या अभिप्रेत है, क्या मंतव्य है, तब बात दूसरी है. पर अगर आप मीडियोकर डांसर हैं तो सबसे पहले जो चीज़ लोगों को आकर्षित या विरक्त करती है वो है आपका शरीर. कृपया इसका ध्यान रखिए. धन्यवाद.
मेरे ख्याल से इसी मोड़ पर हम हमारे अगले फोकस ग्रुप की तरफ मुड़ते हैं. Our next focus group is on the dancers, and I request our HOD, Dr. Shubhangi Bahulkar, to please come on the stage, and also the speakers of the focus group, which includes Dr. Sucheta Chapekar, Guru Shama Bhate, Guru Roshan, Guru Dr. Jyotisihi Rajgopalan, and Guru Chetana Jyotisihi, to please come on the stage, and we'll welcome you. Dr. Sucheta Chapekar. Sucheta Tai. She's been with us since the inception of Lalit Kala Kendra. She's seen this institute grow and the convener of our seminar. Yes, the brainchild behind this. Shama Tai, a resplendent choreographer on new themes. Guru Roshan Tai. Just last last semester, she convened a seminar on history of dance, history of Kathak, and its in with the ancient texts. Guru Dr. Jyotisihi Rajgopalan, a focus on Aharya Abhinay, is her PhD, and a very senior disciple of Dr. Padma Subramaniam. And Guru Chetana Jyotisihi, ex-director of Kathak Kendra, with a vast experience in teaching, performing, and art administration. And her session was a hit amongst our students in the seminar which happened in the second semester on history of Kathak and its links with the ancient texts. Thank you all, except Sucheta Tai, who will begin with her speech. The Sutra Sanchalak and the Sutradhar for today's focus group is Valerie Apte, the master students of Kathak. I invite Valerie on the stage and begin with the focus group speech.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Our first speaker for today, Guru Sucheta Chapekar, an artist of rare individuality, is acclaimed as one of the finest Bharatnatyam exponents in India. Trained in the Guru Shishya Parampara by stalwarts such as Acharya Parvati Kumarji of Bombay and Guru K.P. Kittappa of Tanjore. In her career, she has performed all over the country and abroad and received acclaim for her purity of technique, grace, perfection, as well as deeply thoughtful choreographies. Her extensive research on King Sarfoji's contribution to this field and Marathi, Hindi, Sanskrit compositions of King Shahaji of Tanjore have also given her great acclaim. She has developed her new creative style which synthesizes Bharatnatyam and Hindustani classical music called Nritya Ganga, for which she has received great acclaim from all over the country. An extremely knowledgeable personality, a prolific dancer and scholar, and the ever so soft-spoken Sucheta Chapekar will now present her paper titled Reflections of a Dancer. I now welcome Guru Sucheta Tai.
Namaskar. A very good morning to all the learned critics, dancers, editors, gurus, rasikas, and my dear students. Actually, when this idea came up and me and Parimal were talking, he said, Tai, you be the convener. I said, what is that? Like the first chapter of Natya Shastra Brahma, thought of something and gave it away to Bharata. I said, I've given the idea, now you do the rest of the things and let me meditate, sit there and listen. But he said, no, you have to be, you are the convener. So you have to do the resume of every talk and so on. So yesterday I've been religiously doing that, and then I felt, why don't I use this time to reflect and also to put up some points to ponder which always are there in my mind. I'm still in yesterday's discussions, which were so lucid, explicit, thought-provoking, and yet they were spoken from heart. And they gave us the clear overview of this situation regarding the dance criticism. The critics, the editors, these are the people who have spent long years in the studying of the subjects, and they have enjoyed doing this. But as Sunil Bhai says, this thankless job, since they are as passionate about dance as we dancers are. Sunil Bhai also stressed the need for the critic to have knowledge, not only the technical and practical side of dance, but also the mythology, Sanskrit texts, not only the knowledge of different dance styles, but also the related arts, indeed, at all order. As Rekha Sane Madam put it, a critic ideally should be able to understand, appreciate, evaluate, and finally interpret in a language palatable for the reader, as well as pleasing, encouraging, and certainly not offending, sir. At this point, the realization came to my mind that even now, audiences do need to be educated on how to appreciate classical dance. I say even now, since it was way back in early 70s, I started giving lectures on dance in Mumbai. Not just pedagogy, but it easy to understand and appreciate. I did this in many women's clubs, Mahila Bhaginis Mandals of Mumbai, because I feel that mostly the small children are initiated into arts by their mothers. Since I felt it is the mothers who encourage the children to learn dance. Eventually, I was asked to do a leg dem by Arya Sangeet Prasarak Mandal in Pune, the organization which every year hosts the great Savai Gandharva festival. This was my first, way back in '67, my first appearance in a festival performance. In short, both the dancer and the critic can use own ideas to educate the audience. I remember that this leg dem, Pandit Bhimsen Joshi, Vasantrao Deshpande, Vamanrao Deshpande, all these stalwarts were present, and I was Parvati Kumar pupil, knew Abhinay Darpan by heart, and a lot of things I spoke and I demonstrated. And this must have induced them to invite me to perform in the festival. Well, going back to yesterday's discussions, Leelaji brought in the discussion about the world of terminology. She delved at length on what is to be called traditional and what is to be called contemporary. Per se, tradition or parampara, if it is living, thriving, growing, changing, is contemporary. Only its macro aspects change, not the soul, the micro. I would like to little bit elaborate on this macro and micro of art. It is like body and soul of a human being. Soul needs body to visualize itself, and body without soul is empty, dead. Macro and micro are the sthula and sukshma of any art form. To simplify, what is macro is the dancer's attire, her trained body, the variety of compositions, the technique. And what is the micro? It is how a dancer would understand the theme, her own interpretations, knowing and projecting them, underlining its philosophy. That is micro. For instance, everybody knows the famous Vyasaraya song, Krishna Ni Begane Baro. A gopi is inviting Krishna to come to her. Krishna Ni Begane Baro. Usually it is done with Vatsalya as Thai, but I had seen it, Kalanidhi Mami interpreting it, a mother calling out at the same time, a gopi with Rati Bhava and a bhakta with devotion. Because song is so open, so simple, Krishna, come to me. Mother can say that, Krishna, come to me. And oh Krishna, come to me. And the whole song, the poetry is very, very simple. It describes the physical features of Krishna and is danced by from a small child to professionals. This is performed. Now why all these 500, 600 years, why is this song still a part of tradition? Because there is lot one can read between the lines. It's the full psychology of a child. If you, any chubby child, and you feel like calling the child to you, but that age, they don't want to come. Even if you kiss them, they'll wipe away the cheek. But the minute you say, oh, such nice frock, come to me, show it to me, then she'll come close and, oh, my mother got this. So that is why probably Gopi is saying you have lovely gungrus and you have all this sandalwood paste and all these things. And usually a dancer would conclude that Krishna comes to her, catch her hand, and they exit in the wing. But thinking of it, I thought when I saw Kalanidhi Mami. Krishna exists in all forms as a child, as a youthful, as a graceful youth, and also as Bhagwan Krishna. Does a human being ever catch hold of God? But we keep on calling out. We want to see our divine, the larger aspect, the divine aspect. So when I conclude, I almost go and he comes near me, but minute she tries to take him around, there he goes away, and then she keeps calling Krishna Nivega Nivaro. So I conclude on a different note, and this has always been appreciated by my audiences. So these are really the Sanchari aspect. Some time back, I also saw colonial brothers interpret the song. This question will come later. My students themselves have asked me, what is to be called classical? Now, when normally my son watches all these, he puts on TV and watches this modern musical things. But that day when I heard Krishnani, I just went and saw it. And quite a different interpretation. It's like coming home of a teenager. That's how they have interpreted in this video. And I liked it, I appreciated it. So same song, but person who has art in him and thinks about the micro aspect can interpret it in different ways, and then really the technique, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. It remains classic. The song, the interpretation, the presentation remains classic. So, talking about the macro and micro, as I said, the art is like body and soul of a being. Soul needs body to visualize itself, and body without soul is empty. They are the sthula and sukshma of any art form. So the macro part, as was talked, just Leelaji said, body is a vehicle, it is instrument, it needs to be tuned, but then tuned for what? To bring the audience to the micro aspect. And this also, I remember, like we were all saying, when I was even a small child, my father always took me to see lots of performances. Since I was in Mumbai, whatever, wherever, he would buy the first line ticket and would show me the dances. Those years I didn't even know her name was Bala and she was the greatest dancer. I still remember her show in Jain College, and when she danced, somehow maybe I didn't understand anything, but I had tears in my eyes, and my father was looking at me, said, "What moved you?" I said, "I don't know, but it me." So it goes, that micro part, if it is interpreted powerfully, it can really go beyond language, beyond body language, beyond technique, beyond style. I also remember seeing Kelu Babu here in Pune. Actually, he was right here. He took a workshop, and one of my French students was there at that time, and she said, "Guruji, can I take shoot?" And he said, yes. He was simply sitting there, and I still remember with his back, the way he walked, it was femininity personified. I have seen his performance with a very professional woman dancer, but our eyes were always on Kelu Babu, who was more that femininity, even with his bald head and open body, he was more a woman than a woman. So it is the soul which reaches, and that is the micro aspect which the dancer should concentrate. But at the same time, also it has to be remembered that the travel is from macro to micro. So, of course, initially, like Balamma would just walk like this, stand there, look at the musicians. Till then, she was like any other woman in the house. But when the music started, she was 1 inch above ground, and what size of her body, nothing mattered. It was only the express feelings which really reached you, touched you. One more experience of this I would like to, it's etched on my mind. My first trip abroad was on a ship, SS France. It was something like your Titanic in the film, a huge ship. And there was supposed to be a theater on the ship, and I was supposed to dance on that theater, in that theater. So my father permitted. I was hardly 20, 21 at that time. But father said, no, I won't leave my daughter alone. So they allowed him. They also allowed 3 musicians with me. And first day when we arrived on the ship, they said on the deck there was a small space. Normally a cabaret or some just dance used to be taken place there. So the captain came and he said, you have to dance here. I started crying. I told my father, people drink here, I won't, I'm jumping in the sea going back to Bombay. But he said, no, we organize the chairs like auditorium. And father said, okay, now you dance, you do whatever, don't cry. So, well, I used to explain in English, but I don't think that audience was French and German and all foreigners and people, small audience, but besides my father, there was a woman and watching very intently. And in the end, I do a shloka, Ramonama, Babuva, Yashoda is putting child Krishna to sleep. So, of course, they don't know Ram, they don't know Krishna, they know nothing. But after that, that woman was crying. And my father asked her, what made you cry? She said, I'm a cabaret dancer who performs here every evening. We sell our bodies. She bought my soul. So, I mean, I'm not talking about what I did or what these are our arts, and if we really feel them and create the images in modern times, after all, gods, the icons, it is something that we have imagined. Each icon stands for a particular character, particular guna, as we say. They represent a principle in life, and the gurus, we teachers need to explain these things to the students so they don't just copy the form, but they also understand the content and try to feel it. And I feel this is the macro and micro of the art. Poetry, music is macro. The Sancharis are the micro, and that's why each song can be, these songs have that potential, the ancient compositions which are still good, they will never become outdated. More we understand them, more we read between the lines, we can interpret them in different ways. Leelaji concluded with a very important message. Virtuosity is essential, but not to the extent that it destroys the inner core, the philosophy of art. Virtuosity should be there only to make the philosophy more palatable for the audience. Ideally, classical arts do not only achieve the catharsis, they internalize you, increase your knowledge about yourself. Speaking about macro and micro of art, I think these instances which I narrated should suffice. Srimati Manjiri Sinha, in her very poetic language and a sing-song manner, stressed the importance of Manan Chintan along with sadhana. Riyaz is important, but it is only the physical practice. Important is sadhana, thinking about what you are doing, why you are doing, where you are doing, for whom you are doing. All these questions are relevant and the dancer needs to think about them. While lamenting on the paucity of good samiksha, she also stressed its importance as it makes the elusive art forms like dance perceivable and creates a cultural evidence for it. I feel when we say criticism, there is more a statement. When we say samiksha, it is giving the view of the artifact, the work of art, from all sides, a very considered, guided view. Many speakers express that dancers don't like criticism. This morning I had a thought when Kittappa sir, my Guruji, would, if something was good, he would say, parvale. If something was little better than that, he would say, nannaradu. If something was even better than that, then he'll say, besha, besha. So it was, when he said parvale, I would, okay, so I'm not bad. But if he said nannaradu, that means, well, I'm doing okay. And if he is even, so it was half less. I felt if critics use language and make it like, when it is, ठीक है, ऐसे बोल दीजिए. जब थोड़ा ऊपर है तो ओके, बट देन अच्छा है तो सो यू कैन ग्रेड इट हाफ लेस, बट जो एकदम ऐसे उसको भी ठीक कहे, सो ऑडियंस, आई थिंक ऑडियंस विल स्टार्ट अंडरस्टैंडिंग कि इन्होंने अच्छा ठीक है बोला है तो नॉट इन और considered what was the point. And of course everybody said, and it's true, it should be with reason. And here again, well, those were the days when by all the newspapers did cover, I wouldn't say even my Arangetram I remember was reviewed in Times of India. And first time the Marathi composition, Parvati Kumar had taught me, it had no Marathi words, Jyotishwaram, from the Tanjavur manuscripts. But this critic had mentioned that this is, ये नींद ने डाली है और ये अच्छा है, ये होना चाहिए. My mother was very meticulous. She has kept those old cuttings. Unfortunately, I have not bothered later on. But the old books have lots such reviews which were indeed giving, as was stated by Vijay Sai, that critic can be a catalyst in many ways. One review, Sunil Bhai, I remember, where it was not really purview of that what I perform, but since you knew me and you had seen many of my performances, you did say that, well, I'm happy what she has achieved with hard work and her graph should go scaling. And I said, yes, I have to now keep on, keep it scaling higher and higher. So at times these words do help. Also, I remember I was doing 2 performances for Shanmukhananda. Those years there were 6,000 members and they used to all come. So one artist was booked for 2 performances. Nowadays they say there are 15,000, but they can do only 1 performance. That for many reasons this audience has been reducing. But that performance, the review, I don't remember who was the reviewer, I don't know. Sucheta fails to start. Something like that. The main 2-column, 3-column review up. It was a big thing. And I said, what happened? 2 performances I did. I got good vibes from the audience. So, as you mentioned, actually in the end, one of the programs he had mentioned that she could have gone higher or something like that. So probably the editor, I don't know, he felt, who's this Marathi girl doing? So something, he changed probably, that's what this critic, I won't take the name, but he explained to me. I said, whatever, never mind. Sometimes I must also take that. So such things also happen, but in a way, such studied reviews are, I don't know why everybody has that impression that dancers don't welcome it. But it is true, as it is, we work very hard, with all sincerity, with all integrity, and then we are not as famous or given as much publicity as the film stars. Not that we expect, but younger generation, younger dancers who are working towards it, they do feel. And that's why if some adverse comment is there, they feel bad, and sometimes I didn't know because I don't read much of these news and things, that they file suits and all this I don't know. I'm happy in whatever I'm doing. Well, more than tabla, you should use pakwas. That will, it's good, do it, you are doing it. Well, try it. That was my very, very, very first performance in, I think, 1982. And Sunil Bhai was the one, no, Sucheta, the tabla won't do. You have to have. And this I thought over, and I really felt, because Bharatanatyam footwork has that solid stamping, and which more than tabla, pakhavas, and that really changed my perspective. And I worked with pakhavas. Arjun Sejwal ji was at that time in Mumbai, and it did develop something good, and it enriched Nritya Ganga definitely. So I think considered opinions of critics, dancers should take seriously, and that would definitely hold good and definitely help them in their expositions. Shri Shama Chandra or Chakra? Sham Hari? Chakra, yes. Narrating his own experiences showed us both the thorny as well as rosy sides of his professional experiences. He brought our attention to many different areas of this profession, which includes research and documentation. Shri Vijay Sai represented the dance critic of the younger generation, who seems to give a little lighter, humorous approach to his critics to make them maybe more palatable, interesting. But I was relieved to know that he too believes in the fact that dance is greater than the dancer. And a critic can actually play a role of a catalyst, a leader in creating fine taste for art. I wish him luck and courage. In the afternoon session, which featured 4 editors, seniors like Ashish ji and juniors like Shumita ji, made us understand that how an editor's job was much more difficult, as he is the ultimate link between the critic and the reader. Running a newspaper magazine is also a hardcore business. Ashish ji joined. Ashish ji stressed that editor needs to have the overview, inner view, and also the bird's eye view of the newsprint. Lalita Venkat candidly narrated the problems of editing a portal like nartaki.com. A title of her paper, Claws of Silk, did suggest that she enjoys her task nevertheless, and no doubt the site is becoming more and more popular day by day. Both Shumita, Shri KK reiterated the commercial problems faced by the editors and at times their helplessness when the review or the article need a cut. To cut the long story short, I thought the 3 ups and downs of business of critics and the media, artists, critics being together. This point was stressed by almost all. Sunil Bhai may remember, we had a dancers guild in Mumbai, and I remember in Bhulabai Desai Institute, many times even Padmaka, so many artists, whosoever came to Bombay from outside, we all used to meet and discuss, and it was in a very congenial atmosphere. I feel in Pune at least, since me, Shama Tai, Manisha Tai, all we are, always we meet, talk, discuss. We should also have such guild which will probably help in bridging this gap. Paucity of space in the media. This was talked about almost by everybody. Arangetrams, of course, I wouldn't like to comment on that, and it doesn't really matter if they are, as the state is today, they are not covered. But you will find that the major festivals do get good coverage. Sometimes critical acclamation is also there. At that time, there are sponsors for such spaces. And that I feel is one solution. When you want a good critic to come and review, one should find a sponsor, and this is not very difficult, I would say. One has to look for it. And the sponsor also gives his name in the bracket, so for which he pays, but the dancer, the program, the festival gets good review. So there are, I think, some since that has to be a paper, Shumita did tell us the cost and that the cost for which it is sold. So we are all aware about the financial problems. Such solutions can be found because the newspaper print still is the very widely circulated media, though television is also there. Unfortunately, papers like Times of India, Pune Times is like, I mean, it's like film fair. Why? And some that page 3, I never understand who those people are. We just don't know. Big photographs and just the names. What the newspaper achieves, probably they give money. I don't know. They are like ads. But with all that, at least once a week, they could run a column. And I would say, I mean, since we have been having 6 months, one whole, they have subject, Nritya Samiksha. So I always try to tell the students, see more, write more, get it. We have people who have some knowledge of writing for newspaper. Even in Pune, there are some good critics. So get it, go to them, get it checked, what they are writing. And I think even a dancer herself can sit in that position and try to evaluate. So in this, I think yesterday some girl asked about what we should do, and it said that you should write, try to write in English, but my experience is that there are very few really critics for regional languages. I mean, I have had opportunity to go to many small places in Maharashtra where we have audience, but they hardly know anything about dance, and then they have lot of space in their newspapers, regional paper. So if you write even in Marathi and send to such, because Sakal has editions for Solapur and for many other smaller towns, the regional papers, they do have space and they want such news, and there is audience. But even today, just last month, one of my students, he was from Solapur. Last 10 years, he's been coming to Pune learning from me. Now he's been also teaching in Solapur, and it was the first, really what you can call Arangetram, was staged in Solapur. Hall was packed, lot of course, all the relatives. Now the girl is married and come to Pune, but all her relatives from Solapur, all who's who in Solapur was there. And you will also laugh. The minute she strikes a Nataraja pose, minute she strikes this, all claps for each and every. I think the girl also must have got little annoyed. And I said, what is happening? In between, they were compere was talking, but people were all talking in between the item. And then what I did was, when the girl is really good and she did good abhinay, I would clap. So I was sitting front row. So everybody, when I clapped, clapping. So at least I felt they knew some places where it needed to be clapped. So the condition even today, they don't know from Bharatnatyam to Kathak to in smaller towns, but same time there is audience. One such small town I remember, first item was over, second I do talk in Marathi and lot of crowd and everybody, this was a very small village and behind people really wo gaam mein aise baithte na, baithe the dekhne ke liye program. Only in the front there was some gaddi was there, rest were sitting on the ground. The floor was mud floor, they I mean sargun vagere घेतलं. But I said they are interested, so I should go and dance. तो 2-4 items हो गए, no claps. I said, what is happening there? Like, everybody is sitting, but nobody is clapping. तो बाद में मैंने कहा आपको अच्छा लग रहा है तो claps कीजिए. So everybody clapped. So that much knowledge also they felt that नहीं उसको कुछ disturb होगा, कुछ नहीं तालियां नहीं बजानी है. So people have interest, and I feel this kind of newspaper writing can definitely add regional languages to their knowledge. And I feel even in South, though we say every house has dance and music, it was sad just few years back when I went to Tanjore. I performed Kittapa's compositions in Kittapa Centenary Festival organized by his son, but the standard of the other dance was really, Nandini was there at that time. He said, Sucheta, that is it. That is all the good teachers, that goes to the cities. And so I feel at least such writings in regional newspapers and in magazines would definitely again awaken some extent will add, and it does. आम्ही मराठीत म्हणतो थेंबे थेंबे तळे साचे. With drop by drop, I have this conviction, because 6 years ago at my 60th birthday, my daughter organized a big festival. Sunil Bhai was there at that time. In Ganesh, they booked Ganesh Krida. I said, अरे कौन आने वाला है, इतने लोग तो नहीं आएंगे. There was no political leader, there was no film star. Sonalji was there, Chandrasekhar Guruji was there. I danced. But program was at 6:30 and 6 o'clock, all 2,500, the audience was full. I said, okay, so something I've been doing. People at least once they come in that number, not to watch Hema Malini, but to, yes, Hema they do still go to watch, but that's another story. So, this is not a very, it was, I mean, almost all the speakers said it's not lucrative, monetarily beneficial profession. I feel this is really a profession out of the way, and anybody takes such marga, such way, does need to do some hard work, find his or her own ways to go. And as was stated by one of the speakers, it's not just writing about the performance, but there are many other areas where a critic can work and produce. As somebody was, I think my daughter only, she was asking me whether any critic's writing can be a work of art. I said, why not? Depends on the depends on the caliber of that writer. Because I know of one Gopal Krishna Bhobe, who was a very renowned music critic in long time back. I think he passed away in 70s, where I know Pandit Kumar Gandharva Bhimsen Joshi would be proud if he is sitting in the front and they would ask him, really, how was the performance? Please say it, write it. So, a critic can be of, and his, I don't know whether some of the students, Nad is one of his book, which he also writes about Sitara Devi and many artists whom he saw from close, saw many of their performances, and he has written a book in Marathi. So definitely a critic's work can also be work of art. Books written by critics, they are known. But apart from these thorns, also some rosy things are there. Like each and every one of you said that it's very artistically satisfying. The job you do with love, whatever it is satisfying. And we are really, I would say, very lucky that all of you could come here together and be here, and our students could listen to you. Different avenues of criticism can be searched. And as I said, a lot of scope I feel for this performance criticism or writing about dance in general at a very mundane level, maybe. This is also, as somebody said, classical dance or classical music is for classes and it's not for masses. Though I do agree that gold, platinum, diamond, they are different things, and according to their availability, their cost and their value. So classical art anywhere in the world is always on the last rung of popularity, and in India you will find it's on last. Even if you see performing arts, music, well, we have music stars, some dance stars, usually those who are in Delhi and manage to also go all over, but not necessarily. There are dancing stars are also there, but usually the dance comes the last rung of the popularity. But I feel that if dancers themselves maintain their adherence to their art, we do cultivate audience and we do have our own audience. And as far as at least Pune is concerned, I would say all our dance performances, whether it is Shama Tai or Roshan Tai or Manisha Tai, we have good audience. And slowly each and every paran or each and every time dancer comes on some, they won't clap. They know that difference also. That can be judged from the slowly people are getting, audience is getting trained. At the conclusion, I would just like to 2 points to ponder for the critics as well as the dancers. These were the questions I think raised by Parimal and asked to my students who were discussing it with me. I felt they are very relevant as far as the micro part of the dance is concerned. In today's dance scenario, what is really classical? How to define what is classical? And the other thing is, today there is national integration on every front. The classical dance traditions have crossed their barriers of their own region. In such case, how does the tradition maintain its purity? Melange of techniques, mixing two styles, adding martial arts, kalari, Western popular as well as classical techniques in it. Is it detrimental to its classicism? To answer the first question, I feel what is classical in art is not really the technique, but what it has to say. That is important. Every composition in every style should begin with thought. If that is intrinsic, that is everlasting, that has some value, everlasting value, what is turned out becomes classical. That is my interpretation. Now, why then only Bharatnatyam, Kathak, Kathakali only? Why these are called? Because maybe these techniques, over the years, they are geared, they grew up to present such themes. When I am telling story of Ram, I am also trying to make the audience feel what is Ram in life. मराठी में हम बोलते हैं जीवन में राम नहीं है, वो राम क्या है, ये राम क्या है. We are trying to, why Ramayana was the popular serial on television. It relates to our life. Mahabharata presents the conflicts of life, and that's why it's so relevant today. It will always remain relevant. So when a person is taking a thought, a theme, which is classic, which is everlasting, which is... Oh.
It's almost 1 hour. We have to finish by 1 hour.
I'm sorry. Yeah. So that is what makes it classic. And sometimes you will find even a dancer in a Bharatnatyam garb can be doing tam te tam tai ta tai tam te. Would you call it Bharatnatyam? It could be, I mean, in garb of Kathak or it could be cabaret. So what is classical is that micro aspect is very important. And the other part I would say there should be purpose. Sometimes, अरे चलो कथक और भरतनाट्यम कुछ कर. This way we are not achieving anything. If there is purpose, maybe a theme which shows some solid aspect and the fluid aspect, maybe Kathak can represent that, Bharatanatyam can represent the. So there has to be a thought which demands that two or different styles are together. Also, I feel at micro level one can definitely take from other styles. बट सब लोग एक जैसे दिखने लगेंगे तो भी क्या रखा है उसमें. वैरायटी इज द स्पाइस ऑफ लाइफ. सो ऑलरेडी वी आर यूनिक बिकॉज ऑफ आवर एटमॉस्फेरिकल कंडीशंस. वी हैव सो मेनी डिफरेंट एंड ऑफ कोर्स द social and political conditions. We have so many styles, and so I wouldn't like that they merge with each other and we get something a potpourri. We already have some definite features for each style which it should maintain, but of course the presentation form, only one small point I personally feel Kathak has definitely taken such micro points from Bharatanatyam. And it has become, because I have watched for last more than 40 years, I have watched Kathak, Sitara Devi, Roshan Kumari, all the yesteryear dancers. And then when I see today's dancers in Pune, in Delhi, I feel definitely there is much refinement in their presentation. And the presenting compositions, this was never there before. Now they dance Drupad, they dance Tarana, they dance. वो सब पहले नहीं था. वो अच्छा बदलाव आया है. इट हैज़ रिमेन कथक, बट मगर भरतनाट्यम में ऐसे होगा बिकॉज इट. यस डार्लिंग, आई एम ओवर. ये मुझे कहना ही है तो मैं कह ही दूंगी हर बार. दे आर गोइंग too fast, they want to compete with Kathak, but I feel it's not necessary. लोगों को speed हो गया तो तालियां बजाते हैं. That doesn't mean that Kathak के बलस्थान अलग है, भरतनाट्यम के अलग है. So I think each style should maintain अपने अपने बलस्थान वो रखे, because Bharatanatyam is a total body movement. It needs little vilambit, little madhya lay, and not to go too much in fast speed will spoil the beauty of the style. Well, with these words and with lots of SOS messages from my daughter, I conclude. Thank you.